What is up, y'all? This is Mo, and today we're going to be doing a quick video, something that I wanted to answer for myself that I thought maybe other people out there would want to know the answer to as well. As most of y'all probably know, HDZero recently released an AIO board, a 5-in-1 with the HDZero VTX in the board. How does that board compare to maybe an analog 5-in-1, some of the more trusted analog boards that we have as far as range and penetration goes? Now, this isn't going to be a very scientific test. This is going to be purely my experience, or I guess more practical applications. I'm just going to fly it around my front yard, my backyard, test some penetration, range, and you can compare the two images and see if you think HDZero performs well, as well as analog, better or worse, and hopefully that will help you make a decision to purchase or to not purchase HDZero if it is or is not right for you. Now, just to go over the specs of what I'll be comparing, I'm going to be flying for the analog build on my Orca goggles with Mad Mushroom, 2 omnidirectional antennas, one stubby, one Mad Mushroom, alongside this 2G4 board. This is a happy model board. It's a pretty darn solid board, one of the best that I've really found. Very strong VTX, outputs over 400 milliwatts on its highest setting, and we will be turning it up to as best as it can offer, which is 400 milliwatts on R1, and we're going to be using a TrueRC Singularity RHCP antenna on the back. That is important. It's going to give us a little bit of gain, but we're also going to do that to the HDZ build. Just as a quick aside, although this board is pretty darn solid, it's scarcely available, at least currently. I don't know if that's going to improve or maybe go away entirely, but the price point on this board is about $75 from the shops that I've seen. HDZero AIO is $99. An analog AIO for $75 doesn't really sound too good, and there are cheaper options out there, especially the newer Beta FCs, the 4-in-1 and the 5-in-1. Those are substantially cheaper, but I actually don't believe they perform as well as this 5-in-1 with the VTX. As far as the VTX goes, this is a real solid VTX, at least currently on the new Air FCs. They're not doing too well, so we're going to go with this one. And then finally, for the HDZero setup, we do have the HD goggles, the HDZero goggles with 4 omnidirectional stubbies up top. That's the nature of the game. 4 antennas on the HDZ goggles. I know the other goggles only have 2 antennas, but that's the norm, so that's what we're going with. We're going to be flying the HDZ AIO, of course, on a nice Fractal 75 build, and we do have another RHCP stubby on the back for maximum gain. So this is a pretty fair comparison, in my opinion. I'm going to be turning up the output to as high as it goes, which is 200 milliwatts on the AIO. And yeah, we're going to do a side-by-side, and this way y'all can see exactly how it stacks up. Let's check it out. All right, so here we are with the flight footage. Side by side, they're 2 separate flights, but they're synced up in a way where we're pretty much at the same spot at all times during the flight. I did manipulate the speed at some points as well, but just in case it isn't obvious, but it should be, the HDZero is on the left, the analog is on the right. We're only looking at reception, not picture, but I am using the Lux camera, the more premium camera for the AIO on the left here on the HDZero AIO, and the Ant light camera on the analog build on the right. And yeah, they're going to speak for themselves. You can make your own decisions, your own interpretations of how these perform. In my opinion, I think they're pretty comparable in a lot of ways, and you'll see spikes and breakup on both, but I always have thought that HDZero's breakup is more intrusive, is harder to fly through than analog, especially when it gets very bad, and we'll see that in a little bit. But the trade-off is we have just a much better image on HDZero. We still have that ultra low latency, and I will hold by the fact that when there is no breakup, we're within a reasonable distance or a clear line of sight from the quad, HDZero has virtually no breakup, and that is very rare for analog, especially on a 5-in-1. You're always going to have little bits of flashes. Here comes the first real penetration test, and you can see the difference. Analog will get bad, but analog breakup is a lot easier to see through. HDZero's less so, in my opinion. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing too fancy, nothing too long, but hopefully that gives you kind of an idea as to the performance of the AIO when compared to analog. Hopefully you can make an informed decision with your purchase.